Leonidas, the Spartan.
Leonidas makes me sound like some sort of infection or virus.
Well, I mean, you eat kiwis with the skin on, so I don't know what you expect.
Fiber. I don't know. They're nice. Only certain ones. Fiber. Yeah.
Right.
It's going to sound like one of those far-reaching sort of Twitter things.
Far-flung.
Supposedly, the actual like the skin of the kiwi helps like break down the sugar, and the skin of the kiwi or the rest of the kiwi once it's inside. But it's also just tastier. It's convenience. I picked it up and was like, why am I slicing this thing and eating it with a spoon when I could just eat it like an apple?
You can just one gulp.
Yeah. No, the difficulty is you have to get the art of like looking at it and eyeing it up and going, I think you're good.
Right.
Because sometimes you bite into it and it's not good. Like, don't get me wrong, just because I eat them with the skin on doesn't mean every single one with the skin on is good.
Sure.
But I think I have that nailed down from the whole grape fiasco. I had an issue.
You
with
had
grapes.
a grape fiasco?
Oh, I had a grape fiasco. I ate 2.5 kilos of grapes when I was like 12 and like completely ruined myself.
Done yourself in?
Completely, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Tombstone, death by grapes.
So I ate all the grapes, not in one sitting, but in quite rapid succession. And I really enjoy grapes, and I got them from the fruit shop, the wee one at Stramillis. I think it's away now, but it used to be there. But like these are free bags, so it wasn't like you got the free weight bags rather than the kind of box ones, which you know your portion size, your dose per se. But no, I just loaded up 2 bags, one red, one green. Went home, ate one, played a bit of PlayStation, then just ate the second. And like when I say eat them, I can just put them away without thinking.
Yeah.
And,
even eating the stems and all the whole stalks.
No, I'm not that bad.
Just straight down, you're just getting the whole thing like a snake.
But they just disappear. I can't help myself. And then I was like, oh, I feel better. I'm gonna lay down here.
Mr. Stark, I don't feel so good.
It don't feel so good. So I woke up about an hour later, was just sick everywhere. And Mom was like, you okay? And I was like, evidently not. I did not look great.
Oh, bro, I got that grape fever.
And she was like, right, what? And I was like, I ate a lot of grapes. And she was like, well, I can see that. Evidently. I was like... So anyway, so the grape scan came up. I was not well. But then even an hour or two later, was still not well. Oof. So I had to go to the out of hours up at Forster Green. And they sort of panicked and seemed to think that I had...
We got a grape situation.
Well... Yeah, they were worried I had appendicitis because either the way that I was like presenting the symptoms after eating all the grapes, the acid buildup and everything, it kind of would have likened to like acute appendicitis. They were like, kids hospital, they were getting ready. So sent me up the hospital. They saw me. They were like, yeah, we're going to have to get you ready to take this thing out.
Oh my days.
And then they kind of were like, let's hang fire for an hour and a half. And like slowly the kind of really uncomfortable pain in my stomach kind of resided. And then they let me out the next morning, but I was pretty close to having to get my appendix taken out. Now, whether or not the grapes had actually caused something to go wrong with my appendix, or there was just a bit of a, we think you might have appendicitis as a result of eating all the grapes, or whether it was just the acid and all the sugars in the grapes sort of screwed me up enough.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, you've just created a whole new realm of research known as grape-induced appendicitis.
Yeah.
Some poor PhD student is going to dedicate 7 years of their lives to crank through that. Like, how are we going to get all these guys to eat 2 kilos? Anything for a doctorate.
Anything for a doctorate.
Oh, man.
That's do the whole doctorate and you still can't sign passport forms.
Hey, there's one guy in the building that can do that, and it's Ryan Donnelly. Mr. Lawyer, Mr. Enzyme. You said enzyme because we're talking about bellies so much.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about grapes now? Like, you eat them?
I have a good relationship with grapes.
Okay. Good?
Yeah, no, they're super fruit.
Awesome.
But my thing is, like, I can tell you exactly how the grape is going to taste before I eat it. Like,
you're a grape
I'm good.
sommelier.
So the same way you can look at like, same way like doing with kiwi. It's like I've eaten kiwis that are not ready to eat with the skin on. You want them slightly riper. I'd say I can look at a grape and I can probably tell you, I don't know what the resistance of the outer shell is going to be like, and then how sweet it's going to be. Just a knack. I've eaten that many.
You're like the Chris Suter of grape eating.
Yeah.
You just eye grape up and you're like,
well chuffed. Yeah, same league as Chris Suter in suits. I'll take that. What a guy.
Frozen grapes.
Yeah, I'm on board with that.
I love them.
I'm on board with that.
Sometimes I swallow too quickly though, and then I have like brain freeze in my stomach, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
stomach
they kind of just sit in the pit of your stomach.
Sits there, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know. I appreciate the grape. I'm a bit of a purist, so I tend to not freeze it. I'll not refrigerate them sometimes, depending on. Oh, this sounds mental, doesn't it? Like,
I'm ready to clear 3 hours out of my day to talk about grapes.
You know what I mean?
Ready.
Well, if you get a good plump grape that's quite firm, you know what I mean. I wouldn't put that in the fridge. I think that's going to have enough by itself at room temperature.
I love a plump grape. Roscoe's here. Roscoe is just, he loves a plump grape. Look at this guy. Is the producer cam on? Put the cam on this guy's face. Look at this guy.
He's either laughing going, yeah, I get this, or he's going, this is nuts.
No, he's sitting there and he's like, this is the best content we've ever recorded in this room.
8 minutes of people talking.
He's like 500 episodes and this is where we peak.
This is it. The highlight reel starting with like how plump a grape is and whether they're refrigerated or not.
That's unbelievable. So a man of fiber, you're a grape lover.
Yeah.
What's the best grape you've ever eaten in your life?
So I couldn't point to like.
A father can't have favorites.
It's gonna sound, but right. So like there's seasons.
Of course there are.
So like you would know when the good grapes are in at the fruit shop.
When's grape season? Does it correlate with strawberry season?
It's difficult now because everything comes from everywhere. I think I've noticed a kind of standardization, commoditization of the grape somewhat over the last, probably been 17 years kind of consciously eating grapes,
I've been awoken to the world of grapes.
I think the 8 years prior, the first 8 years were probably just non-conscious, just eating fruit, whatnot. And then at the age of about sort of 8, at that point, I must have been like, kind of knew what was going on. It was like, that's a good grape, that's a bad grape. But so you would get like about October, November time would have been the good grapes.
Class.
Good grapes. Yeah.
And so there's no like, I was on holiday here and I had these grapes and these grapes changed my life forever.
I mean, if you have fresh fruit anywhere, it's really, really nice. If you're in Italy or somewhere like that, and fresh fruit and melon and things, can't really beat that. But yeah, no, there was a handful of, call them experiences from the local fruit shop where you got a bag of grapes and there was like, it was like a half kilo bag of grapes, but there was like maybe 30 grapes and they were large. They were huge, big grapes. Yeah, big grapes. So,
unreal.
So yeah, they would be standout experiences.
Plum size.
The heyday of the local fruit shop, but
yeah,
I think it's a Marks and Spencer's to the best grapes about now. It's
nice.
Hard to beat for fruit there.
And what was it was a really big thing for a while. It was like, was it candy floss grapes?
Floss grapes, yeah. Well, I sound like a grape expert.
What is this weird?
This is like a Joe Rogan-esque kind of like. Thought you were more reputable.
So here it was, man, up the top of the mountains, 8 grapes deep.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Tell me more.
The grape had fermented. I also started seeing these things, man. Like there was all these elks jumping out everywhere, and dude, it was the wildest experience ever.
We're going to stop hunting elk and go like game feeding on grapes.
Well, there was an elk. No, I'm not even going to bother. That is properly Joe Rogan territory.
Yeah, where were we on the grapes?
Good question. Roscoe, you have a question? Oh, candy floss grapes.
Candy floss grapes. Yeah, variations of grapes. Strains of grapes.
Yeah.
The ones you get Marks. Now I'm a traditionalist. I'd venture into a good black grape.
Yeah.
A good black grape, but I'm usually white grapes.
And you say you're a purist, so seeded or unseeded?
See, this is the difficulty.
Right.
Seeds and bones and things, I try to eat too quickly.
When you go to Nando's, you're a boneless platter kind of guy?
Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah. Well, like I would eat a lot of Asian food and like see when you get like a duck breast and it has the bone in it and it's just like, I just want to eat, and I'm having to.
You don't want to play?
No, I don't want to play. I'm not here to play. I'm here to eat.
Liam, don't play.
Yeah. It's strictly business. So like, get it off the bone. You know what I mean? Sometimes it comes off the bone. Yeah. Sometimes the bone's just not there.
Yeah.
And then occasionally when the bone's there, I've tripped and fell and ended up.
Madness.
But once you get one little bite of bone or you get a hint of bone, it's like it throws you off. You're like, you're on high alert after that.
Yeah, you can't enjoy your meal.
Yeah. You're like, you're nervous.
Your nervous system is ramped up to a 10.
Yeah. Anxiety levels are through the roof. You're like, I'm gonna get another bit of bone here.
Sorry, we're getting really sidetracked from grapes. Roscoe, do you want to bring us back on topic here?
Yeah, I never thought we'd be
8 minutes long on grapes.
Yeah, I never thought that we'd be spending. It's not working. Okay, I never thought we'd be spending this long on grapes.
Welcome to the baths.
Welcome to the baths.
This is a true meet the members moment where we get to learn about grapes. This is what happens in the baths, so you should get yourself inclined here.
100%.
Funny, I watched an episode or two earlier, just when I was eating my lunch.
And none of them were like this.
Yeah, well, I think the start of one, James was talking about Buckingham Palace, and there's a couple other ones that people were Jordan was talking about being a wanted man in Scotland, and I was like, the start of mine won't be that one. Can't be that left field. You've got me hook, line, and sinker. Kiwis into grapes.
That's good. I mean, this is kind of our goal. You ever read the book Grapes of Wrath?
I have not.
Interesting. Maybe we want to put on your list.
About grapes?
I'm gonna be honest. I have no idea what it's about.
It sounds like quite a misleading title.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there is a phrase, maybe, I don't know if Steinbeck invented the phrase, but yeah, the grapes of wrath. I've always wondered what it actually means. That's a question for GBT, I think. There is a you VeggieTales man?
No.
Oh man, are you a VeggieTales man, producer Oscar? No, he says it. He says he's embarrassed to admit it. Right, so if you were brought up in like super religious Northern Ireland and you're not allowed to watch TV on a Sunday, some parents might allow you to watch VeggieTales. And it's basically this like animated Christian TV show for kids all about various Bible stories. Okay. But it's the weirdest trip ever because everyone in it is a fruit or a vegetable.
Okay. And so it really just doesn't want to touch anything. It wants to keep it on the principles of like food.
Right. But there was an episode all about the grapes of wrath. Now this is coming from my 7-year-old memory. And there's these animated grapes and they sing this song called The Grapes of Wrath. And it goes, "We are the grapes of wrath. We never take a bath." And I don't know where it goes from there. That's as much grape-related content that I can extract from this conversation.
It's obviously stuck, though.
It has stuck, but it's made me wonder.
Doing something right with the TV series.
It's made me really wonder what the. Oh my word! It's all coming back to me.
Do you ever wonder, like, how much of your perceived memories are like kind of actually as they were? Like, I remember, like, I've told stories, like, you know, to my grandmother or to my dad or something, and then my mom's going like, "No, that's just not what happened," and I'm like. But I swear that was how I remembered it, and then someone goes, "No, that was not the way it went."
So, I mean, I have real issues with this because let's say hypothetically you're talking with a sibling or a parent, and you're describing a situation, and they're trying to go, "No, that's not how it went at all." Whose memory do you trust?
I mean,
because it's your memory against theirs.
True. I think you're more susceptible to delusion when you're younger, I would say.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Yeah. Depends on the context, though. Depends on the
kids
context.
are like dogs sometimes.
I remember smart. My mom will hate me for telling the story, but she got a speeding ticket one day. We were in the car. We were quite young, you know, and like I remember how
you mean an unnamed female parent in your family?
Not the outer or anything like that. An individual with close links, close paternal links. And, you know, she was like, I always tell the story, but she used to always be like, "You guys were a nightmare in the back of the car. You were always fighting." And like one day, like we're fighting and I got distracted and got stopped by the police because, you know, no, that was not what happened. She was running late for an MOT and undertook someone on the inside lane. And police pulled her over and gave her a ticket for it, or gave her telling off for it. You know, and her version of the event is like, "Oh, how bad you guys were in the back of the car." I know that my memory is completely solid on that one.
But where's the receipt? Where's your proof?
Yeah, I know. But yeah, it's difficult. There's
because all that stuff about, you know, even like JFK assassination, it's like you interview like 50 people.
We're opening a can of worms.
And they're like, "No, came from the east. No, came from the west. No, there was 6 shots. No, there was 8 shots. No, there was da-da-da-da." Like, you know, those eyewitness testimonies.
We're not skirting around the big topics, are we? The grapes and JFK
you know,
conspiracies.
In the Ormo Bass Meet the Members podcast, we're not afraid to deal with the issues.
It's an expose on all things.
Bro. Okay. Hello, welcome to an episode of Meet the Members, where this intro has taken longer than most full versions of this show actually last. But you know what? We're here for it. We're here with Leon Gibson today. Really awesome guy, huge part of the community, has been on an incredible journey over the last few years, was in the startup world, was out of the startup world, was in the uni world, was out of the uni world. He was a club promoter for a while. He's a professional grape eater. Guinness World Book of Records?
No, although my friend...
2 kgs of grapes? That's pretty up there. I mean, there's no proof. Again, where's your receipts?
Yeah.
It's their memory against...
Well, I don't know. I'd say the doctor's trip would show some evidence to that.
So, I mean, we now know who you are. You know, we've established your great personality. The camera's established your great looks. You're a personable guy. You're humble. You're not afraid to talk about your grape endeavors. You've been on an interesting path where, you know, you've been doing uni alongside.
Yeah.
Business world.
Yes.
How have you found that?
Interesting.
Right.
I think I've always sought after and quite enjoyed kind of spinning multiple plates. At times it can be too many. You know, it's always fine till it's not fine, and then you're sort of like, right, I need to pick up the pieces and work out where everything is. I think it's been great because I would go insane if I was only doing uni. But I think as we discussed either on air or off air, you know, that idea of actually having taken a year or two out before I started uni meant that I had a bit more perspective around what I was doing and what I wanted to do. the juggling of has been interesting. I never really saw myself going to uni. And then when I opted to take the place that I'd been offered because of COVID, at the time we were running events, and it made sense. At that point, no one really knew how long things were going to be open, closed. So starting and running through the uni program made sense. It's taught me a lot. I've learned a lot, but it has also kind of exposed some of the shortcomings of which, I sort of was aware of beforehand and might have put me off.
Off the uni system?
Yeah. And again, I think that like uni is the right path for some people. For other people, it's something they should explore and try. But for me, at least, when I'm in the last 6 months of what is a 4-year degree with a gap year, the last year's been tough because I took a year out. And when I say tough, not like tough, but just like tricky to kind of fall back into the pattern.
CBA sort of tough.
Yeah, frustration more so. I think particularly because when it comes to business, and I'm sure there's other topics that are slightly more applied like that, there's probably a bit of a kind of dissonance between what's taught and the structure by which they, present things versus how things actually work in reality. And I think I've had quite a relative to my age is probably the best way to put it, like quite a variety of experiences in a number of different areas. And I say relative to age, you know what I mean? Because like you're never really not learning, but to then be kind of back in that kind of undergrad structured learning around, how a business works and startups and, it's...
All right, Leon, let me tell you how startup marketing works.
Yeah.
So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to open up Microsoft Excel. You're like, what?
Oh, yeah, no. It's like, can you make a 1-year cash flow statement? And it's like, I don't know. I had a startup for a year and a half and it didn't make any money. So like, I can make a statement. There won't be much cash flowing in it. But, so I think... But at the same time, that's never going to be perfect, and if it inspires people who've taken that course to then eventually explore like what a startup, and what we were discussing earlier, startups, SMEs, how there's a big difference between them, if it encourages someone to take that path or equips them with the confidence down the line to explore their own idea, then brilliant, and I think that I guess overall with university, it's somewhat of a best fit, especially when you're looking at a course and courses are getting bigger and bigger. I think there's maybe over 300 people in my course. In some of my modules, there's north of 300 people. I think as uni courses, and there's probably been a lot of talk about how they're trying to cater to large numbers and the kind of service that they're offering. I think that you're going to find that there's people that are at either end of that kind of like best fit situation are probably feeling like it's maybe further away from what would be best for them. But then with that, it's also probably, at the median point for who it's serving best is serving more people and providing them with the most. So it's, it's an interesting one. Yeah.
What are some of your biggest takeaways from your own personal startup journey? I listened to something earlier and they said that most successful entrepreneurs start at the age of 42 and that any experience you have before 42, you can just basically write it off as education. And
interesting.
I was like, bro, I'll take that.
Yeah, it's like if you've done anything before then, it's a plus. I think it's funny. I've heard like I've had the fortunate experience of speaking to quite a few people who've been relatively like quite successful to date, and even just speaking to peers, people my age who are doing things like a lot of the consensus seems to be kind of anywhere from 20 to 30, 35, like you should just be learning, trying, building, seeing what works. I think there's a bit of a, I'm going to call it like an over-glorification of things that work before you're 30, 35, and not even that it's an age-based thing, but moreover just you can try and try and try, and there's no guarantee that something's going to work, until a certain point. And I think that, when you see success stories or you hear about people that have, not that money is necessarily a metric of success, but it's by some means a measure.
It's the business scorecard.
Yeah, it is really, and you hear about they've done X or they've raised Y and they've been through that process. Like, I think it doesn't account for the other 95% of things that just don't work and, or the first time it doesn't work or, I think, when you consider it like that, you certainly have to approach it along the lines of like, hopefully by 35s, 40s, you're going to find your thing, whatever it is you're best at, whatever it is you have the advantage in. And then at that point, you'll hopefully want to run with it and sort of really follow through with something at that point. So I think in terms of what I've learned, like specifically from about startups and kind of my own experiences from it, I think like there's this whole thing about speed and how quickly things move, and I'm very much like I want to move fast. And at the time when I was kind of working on a startup, I felt like I was taking it slowly and kind of going about it methodically. And in retrospect, I probably was not going as slowly as I should have gone. You know, there is this whole think fast, move fast thing, but it has to be done within perspective. I think I sort of would use the analogy that, like, at least within startups, you know, you have a bit of a rocket there, hopefully. You know, it wouldn't, as we discussed with SMEs and rockets, I don't think it's a startup unless it is potentially a rocket, you know, if it can do really well. I think the difficulty with those things is that you need to point them in the right direction, because they only go one direction. And if you set it off course, it's not necessarily going to end well.
Yeah, you can't put a firework in the wrong direction.
Exactly. Well, yeah, hopefully not. Yeah, we seem to like putting them through letterboxes here in Belfast more so than firing them in the right direction. But yeah, point being, you know, I think, you know, when I've a wee bit of experience in VC and sort of, again, I say experience relative to age, with the Creator Fund, and I sort of, that VC money piece is almost like the jet fuel to the rocket. And I think when you are pointing something in this direction, as soon as you put the fuel in and you decide to take money and go with it, like, it's going. And I think that you need to make sure it's pointing in the right direction and that you're putting the right fuel in it. If something isn't a rocket and you're going to put jet fuel in it, it's going to explode, you know? And I see in some instances people sort of glorifying and chasing like VC money and taking funding from those kind of like super high return areas when it isn't necessarily the best fit for them. And I think it can also be a bit of a downer, or something that can kind of put people off starting things because they panic and feel like raising money or pleasing investors is the way to build a business when it isn't necessarily.
Sure.
So, yeah.
So if you think about use the word unique ability.
Unique ability makes it sound like I have some sort of telepathic. Yeah.
You know, you said something along the lines of, you know, you want to figure things out. You used the word 35. These years for all of us are really to get clear on what that thing might be. If you are guessing, because it is just a guess, what sort of things do you see yourself getting into? Here's actually more so what I'm trying to ask you. What are you good at and what are you not good at?
What am I good at? What am I not
like, what is Leon Gibson specifically, uniquely a good fit for in terms of skills?
It's a tricky one, that, because, and I ask myself a lot, I think I've spent quite a lot of time around people who have like technical skills. And I think when you have a technical skill, it's a bit easier to kind of go like, you know, I can code, or I'm a neuroscientist, or I have experience in mechanical design.
So you're a soft skill kind of guy?
I'm a soft skill kind of guy.
Which is a little more squishy.
Yeah, it's a little squishier, a little fluffier. It's hard to pin down. And that's challenging, I think, particularly because it's hard to identify, hone, and gain experience with those skills when you're younger. You know, a lot of those soft skills are relationship building, dealing with people, organizing, leading, and making decisions as well, which objectively aren't things that you do when you're young. You know, you join a company, you spend time around people who make decisions. And I think that really has been what I've wanted to focus on. And I've made sure that any opportunities that I take are based off who I'm spending time around and sort of with what proximity I am to key decision makers or people that I feel like go about their work or their business in a way that I can learn from. And I think that, so yeah, it's that soft skills piece. I guess I have a knack for like organizing things to the detriment of, well, it's one of those, they say your strengths are your weaknesses, you know. It's like my friends love when we're organizing a holiday and everything's organized. And they don't have to worry about anything. But then on the flip side, it's like, you know, if we're going out for dinner for something, I'm like, so shall we book here or there? And it's just like, you know, I've learned there's a very fine line between like managing and leading and then taking control and being overbearing on things. So that's
a really, really good point.
Yeah. So it's an interesting kind of challenge to try to balance that, I guess.
So building relationships and organizing, I mean, that's just... You're very entrepreneurial.
It's very fluffy, that as well.
No, but come on, like you're excellent. You're excellent founder, entrepreneurial.
Well, it's one of those things. Like it's hard to pin down what makes an excellent founder. Like in principle, you know, I think you maybe would speak to different. And I've had the fortunate position of speaking to a lot of founders through Creator Fund, and even through the likes of Young Enterprise and spending time around here in the Baths. You know, you speak to certain people, not even specific to what they're working on or their area. And you can just kind of tell when someone has that knack for, you know, I call it a kind of curiosity killed the cat. It's that kind of piece of like, wanting to understand something and wanting to see if there's an opportunity there. So I would say I would describe myself as opportunistic. I think is probably the best way to put it.
Yeah. I'm going to make a prediction here live on air, even though we're not live or on air. Leon, a later stage Leon, I would say angel investor.
Angel investor. Yeah. I'll take that. Yeah. I'll run with that.
It'll be maybe
I hope that's a side gig. I hope that's
one of many strings to your bow.
Yeah, hopefully so.
Yeah.
Hopefully so.
Cool. Why do you love coming to work at Normal Baths, assuming that you actually enjoy coming here?
The caffeine. The Napoleon caffeine. No, I think
I mean that's a pretty big
it's a pretty big thing.
We probably have the best coffee shop in the city centre.
The cookies though, the cookies that they alternate, they're trouble. I go in there on a Friday.
The salty ones?
I go in there on a Friday and I just get a look from behind the counter. It's like, he's good for a cookie. Or they had the cookies with the fluff in between them.
This guy could eat about 2 kgs of cookies. Let's load him up.
I think, the overarching bit's the community and like the people here and the sort of relationships you build with people. But I think it's like one step below that. It's just the kind of that sense of like everyone's kind of working on their different bits and pieces within the baths. And there's just, I'm sure everyone comes on here and says community, and like it is really hard to put a finger on it. I've spent time in like a couple of different like co-working spaces in different places, and like there is something just about the way that everyone interacts with everyone here. I think Claire's a massive part of that. Like you'll be sat there working, and assuming you're not doing something important, she's not interrupting. She'll come over and just be like, "Hey, Leon, have you met so and so? You should speak to so and so." And I think like sometimes here in Belfast we can be a little bit like, standoffish makes it sound like it's some way like aggressive or
sure.
But we're not the most natural like, "Hey, what's your name? What are you doing?" kind of thing.
Yeah.
Claire really is creating an environment where that's the norm. If you walk into the kitchen and like your kind of heads down, keeping to yourself, you're being weird. You know what I mean?
True, yeah.
And if you're in the kitchen trying to like chat to anyone else, that's just
hey!
you go knee sliding into the kitchen, going, "What's happening, guys?" And it's like someone's microwaving something, someone's trying to wrestle the wee water tap thing and proceeding to flood the floor.
Well, when they have such a fine bottle as yours, it's difficult.
I set my Yeti down here, as we said. You have the
look at that,
the decanted water. I thought I would at least acknowledge and make use of that.
It's bougie. Producer Rosca setting the stage for people to live their best lives.
Matching cups, though, I think would be a way to go. I think your clashing colours here, yellows and clears, and
that's true actually. So the reason we went for this bottle is because it's like a sippy cup, so I can't.
His and hers, do you? Matching
his and hers, and Mark. Don't forget about Mark. So we've got we kind of call them the Power Rangers. So we just we're looking for a blue Ranger. We're looking to expand the Rangers.
Yeah.
Everyone gets a colour, but the sippy cup. So I just spill things. So
I get why you have it, but I'm a glugger. Like if I had like a Lucozade bottle, I would have screwed the top off and drank it. Like
right. So it's your water bottle. You unscrew it.
Mine it makes a nice wee.
Yeah. Okay. So it's not as big as I thought it was going to be. No. Yeah. That's cool.
But this thing's it's like.
See, it's
actually bulletproof.
I had a hydro flask for 5 years or something. And I have to unscrew it. And I just grew tired of the unscrewing.
Simple.
Nah, but you're driving, you're cycling with one hand, I don't know.
Sure. Well, to be fair, I haven't this thing's big. It's heavy. It's very, very heavy. It's full. It's like a dumbbell.
How long does it take you to fill it up from the water cooler?
A period of time. I don't have the patience to fill it fully, so I couldn't tell you. I normally sit there. The difficulty is it's like as it gets more full, you proceed to spill more of it. So
such is life, eh?
Such is life.
I don't know what that means. Just felt like
it felt relevant to holistic and kind of.
It's like I heard someone say one time about like Swiss cheese. They're like, it's like the more you get, the less you get, and that's just like life. And I was like,
I think if you say certain things in a certain
I remember
tone,
it off my head and be like,
Some people will just.
I
just kind of nodded and I'm not sure about it, but
100%. Sounds right. Awesome. Where can people connect with you, and what sort of people are you looking to connect with?
Oh, flip. Well, I'm on LinkedIn, I think, as everyone is.
Would have been class if you had to say like I'm on Tinder. Like
At me on QR code of my Instagram or something. Well, I'm on LinkedIn. I think to be honest, you will probably see if you don't hear me around the baths. Pretty easy to hear from a distance away. Mom says I talk a bit too much.
no, you're just honing and operating in your skills.
Yeah, my soft skills.
Soft skills.
Thank you, Mother. I was just brushing up on my soft skills.
Exactly.
So generally I'm sort of at this stage where I'm kind of transitioning from, like I said, finishing off uni, still working on the events and stuff on the side. So I don't really have specific people I'm keen to speak to at the minute, but I'm kind of in this getting ready for that handover of finally finished uni and kind of keen to be into something kind of hands-on full time. I think, but I'm going to take a bit of a hiatus once that's finished for a couple of weeks and see. For a couple of weeks, some people take a hiatus for a long period of time.
I'm going to take an extensive sabbatical. It's 5 days.
Like I did like a month in. Like I kind of gave myself like 3 or 4 weeks of like free-ish time in August last year and tried to play a load of golf and do a load of interesting things and just got really bored of not working and doing and things like that. So I don't think I'll do that.
Yeah, I have to say I get a wee bit itchy after I think 10 days is kind of my max.
Yeah. 10 days if you have something to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think but it's a funny one. Like there is this whole thing. I think there's this increasing thing about like part of this whole kind of wellness and kind of like making sure you give yourself space and time off and but
it's like retirement. It's like you can have too much of a good thing.
I joked about it as a bit of a retirement, and then like as everyone does, I was like about 3 weeks in, I was like, can't do it, I'm coming back. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, look, if you have been considering making Normal Bass your business home, we would love to have you. As you can see, the people are very interesting and
eccentric would be
incredibly diverse in their passions and interests and experiences. So you'll fit right in because that's what we're all like. And to do so, wherever you're listening, click the link to the Ormo Bass website, or if you're on the Ormo Bass website, click one of the little things above us right now to come and book a tour. Come and see the place for yourself, get to know the team, and they'll be happy to show you around and show you how this place could help support you in the next stage of your business journey. And other than that, Producer Oscar, thank you so much for your input. And Leon, thank you for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Bit of sidetracking, but no,
it's
really
it's what we do in this room.
Yeah.
This is the sidetrack department. This section of the baths is now, from this point on, known as the sidetrack department.
They think the podcast studio is soundproof so that you don't hear other people, but it's more so that people don't hear what's going on in here.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Catch you next time.
Pleasure.